Hi, this is Dr. Scott Jensen, and there was an interesting article in the Star Tribune in Minnesota today. I wanted to comment on it. You look at a bottle like this, and you'd wonder, what are the cost of those pills? One of the chief driving forces for the inflation pressures in healthcare today is without question the cost of prescription drugs. It is my contention that big pharma, if you look at the cost of healthcare today as a 12-inch pizza, and say big pharma is getting about a fifth of that pizza pie, 20%, they're not really interested, I don't think, in increasing their share of that 12-inch pizza to 25%. They're interested in the American public ordering a 20-inch pizza, and they want 20% of that. And if you run the geometry on an increase like that, from a 12-inch pizza to a 20-inch pizza, you're talking buku dollars. Our country spends billions and billions and billions of dollars on pharmaceuticals. When I was in the Senate from 2017 to 2021, I worked on several big bills. I worked on transparency of healthcare pricing, as well as pricing of medication costs. I worked on an insulin bill, and we got that passed. I worked on a bill trying to rein in and license and register pharmacy benefit managers. Today's article in the Star Tribune is actually a commentary written by Zach Stevenson, a member of the Minnesota House of Representatives, and Dr. Kelly Morrison, a member of the Minnesota Senate. I'm just going to highlight some phrases in this letter, and I'm going to speak to the issue. Paragraph 1. The title of the article is, "All We Have to Fear is High Drug Prices." Paragraph 1. Pharmaceutical lobbyists are once again using scare tactics. I think that's absolutely a legitimate statement. I was in the Senate. I saw the 11th hour tactics of big pharma. When they decide to put the squeeze on representatives and senators trying to do something that might rein in the cost of pharmaceuticals and rein in the rapidly escalating healthcare cost picture, they come in relentlessly. I remember when I first went into medicine in 1978 in med school. I remember participating in some doctor lounge discussions. And at that time, the percentage of the gross domestic product devoted to healthcare was somewhere around 7 to 8%. And the question was always, will we get to double digits? Will we get to 10% of our economy being related to healthcare? Well, folks, we went smoking through 10% a long time ago, and we're on our way to literally having 20% of our gross domestic product in our country being devoted to healthcare. Pharmaceutical is a huge piece of that. In Minnesota, this is the article, they comment, Zach Stevenson and Kelly Morrison say, "We have a track record of progress on prescription drug cost reform, including the Drug Price Transparency Act, the Pharmaceutical Benefits Manager reforms, and the Alex Smith Emergency Insulin Act." We do have a history of leading in Minnesota. And I think that this commentary gets at this concept of a prescription drug affordability board. They're calling it PDAB, Prescription Drug Affordability Board. We talked about this when I was in the Senate. I think it's a good idea then. I think it's a good idea now. Third paragraph. "Each time lawmakers bring solutions forward, we face a deluge of threats and fear-mongering from the pharmaceutical industry to distract from the growing number of Minnesotans who are being forced to choose between buying groceries or the medicine they need." Well said, Zach and Kelly. You're spot on. Right now, Zach Stevenson and Kelly Morrison are trying to carry a bill that would put in place a prescription drug affordability board that would help look at the cost of medicines, particularly as they come available. Recently, there have been articles about what percentage of new drugs retail at greater than $100,000 to $150,000 per year. And the number from 12 years ago to now has, I believe, way more than doubled. This article comments on someone who has to pay $6,000 per dose for Crohn's disease. That doesn't surprise me. I had a patient bring in a bottle of pills, and there were maybe 20 pills in it. And I said, what was the cost for your pills? $39,000. I said, gee whiz, that's like gold. You better protect them with your life. The bottom line is the pharmaceutical companies will come down hard on representatives and senators as they move forward on this. But we need to move forward on it. We really do. When I was in the Senate, I co-chaired a task force called the Task Force on Lowering Pharmaceutical Drug Costs. And it's important, the work we did. And now we're seeing in the Star Tribune today, attention being drawn to this new bill, House File 17, Senate File 168. I think it's really important for all of us to get on board, put a call in to our legislator and tell them that this is not a time for partisanship. This is not a time about Democrats and Republicans. Literally, in America, it's not uncommon for us to pay 3 to 5 times as much for a pill or a drug as a neighboring country might. If you look at the European Union and you look at what they're paying for drugs and what we're paying, we are absolutely footing the bill. Pharmaceutical companies have been hugely profitable. But folks, we've got a lot of people that literally are having to wonder, what do I pay for? My groceries, my tank of gas, or my prescription drugs? The number of patients that have over $100,000 a year bill for their medications is growing exponentially. I think all Minnesotans, and frankly, all across our land, all across the United States, we should be reaching out and asking our legislators, why wouldn't we have some kind of mechanism in place to examine what was the effort that went into creating a new drug? Who did the research? Did the drug company? Or was the research done potentially by a university that had been funded by public dollars, and then the university perhaps turned over the value and benefits of the research to a pharmaceutical company, perhaps for a fee, perhaps for a percentage, whatever. But I think we need to have someone looking at, you shouldn't charge $100,000 a year for this drug just because you can. We know that there are all kinds of Machiavellian mechanisms in place whereby pharmaceutical companies continue to control the cost of medicines. There's no question that if a pharmaceutical company can buy out a competitor and shut down that competitor's production of a competing medication, that pharmaceutical company can make money hand over fist. So I'm telling you right now, on this issue, to be sure, this is not a time for Republican, Democrat partisanship. This is an issue. Be sensitive to your representatives and senators from your area. Reach out to them. Tell them, go for it. Don't let the 11th hour power tactics whereby they try to squeeze you and literally they fearmonger. Don't let that happen. Don't let that stop a good idea. I've always wondered, why don't we let utility companies just charge whatever they want? Why do we have public utility commissions? Why do we have these organizations that look at what a utility company might be asking for when they want a rate increase? Aren't there some comparabilities between a utility company and a pharmaceutical company? Could you and I pool our resources tomorrow and go out and build a pharmaceutical company that could manufacture drugs and compete with the big players in the world? It's not easy. It's not likely. Sometimes when an industry gets so big and can so easily behave like it has a monopoly, that's when we need to have some kind of regulatory energy brought to bear on reining in the potential abuses. It seems to me that that's what this Prescription Drug Affordability Board would potentially do. Is it a perfect bill? I doubt it. I don't think I've ever seen a perfect bill. But you start here, and you watch and see if you accomplished what you'd hoped to, and you try to improve it along the way. But we know that the basic pieces of this bill make a ton of sense, and we know it's going to happen in the 11th hour. The pharmaceutical companies and Big Pharma are going to flex their muscles, and they're going to try to squash this initiative. And I think we should pass this initiative, get it to the governor's desk, and let it get signed. We're way past time. We shouldn't be selling a bottle of pills like this for $250,000, and that happens. Think about it. Thanks.